principle, it could just be rebooted. And then all of this would happen exactly the way it happened before, because it's running the same computer program.
Using computers, the best science of today, and some of those ancient texts. And the bottom line is that what we discovered is every single ancient language, the letters of the language link to very precise numbers that have never changed. So whether we're talking about the Arabic language or the Hebrew language, or if we're talking about cuneiform and Sanskrit, what are called the ancient core or the ancient root languages, there's a mysterious number that's always been linked to those letters, and nobody knows where the numbers came from. That was interesting to me. So through a process that took many years, I came to understand that the numbers that represent the letter are also the numbers that represent the elements, what we call the elements on the periodic table of life and a physical reality as we know it. So in other words, it is if the ancients, they knew about the numbers that were represented, and when we make the connections between the letters of the ancient alphabets, they happen to be precisely the elements that make the DNA in our bodies. Now we have the ability to take the sequences of DNA in a cell and through those numbers link them to the letters in ancient alphabets. And lo and behold, the letters spell words and the words have meaning. And this has led to a book that's entitled The God Code. It was released in the year 2004. What we know is that there is a message, an intentional message within the DNA of all life. The message is theirs.
Greg Braden says the message hidden in the DNA of all living beings is that which spiritual masters have tried to convey to humanity through the ages. He now
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Dr. Grant Ellis, holder of PhDs in psychology and parapsychology with a master's in physiology.
My name is Dr. David Archer. I have a degree in biology with emphasis on neurology.
Let me start by saying this. It is extremely likely that a zombie apocalypse or an end-of-the-world scenario featuring zombies could take place.
Toxoplasma gondii is this really gnarly brain virus. Toxoplasma gondii can only breed inside the intestines of a cat. So it will then infect a rat, and it causes the rat to seek out cats and basically be a little tasty treat.
Let's begin with talking about toxoplasmosis. We use such a disease in our rats at our facilities and laboratory testing.
Basically, what they tested was the difference between rats without toxoplasmas and rats with it. What they found was that in putting it in a captive situation and dousing things with cat urine, they deducted the fact that, most rats would run from the cat urine, and with the ones that are infected, they look for it again and again and again. They seek out the cat.
A variant, a mutant of this virus can infect a human. Loss of rational thought and muscle control, reducing a human to their most prime and basic instincts. They become nothing but a ravaging, thrashing ignoramus, and it would be bad. It would be bad.
So this toxoplasma gets into their brain? The rat no longer...
The rat is no more. Once the toxoplasmus infects a host, it's lights out. Mad cow disease. It's not very pretty. Okay, for instance, this totally and completely gentle creature suddenly becomes infected with mad cow disease. What it does is it infects its cerebral cortex and it goes buck wild. Its aggression skyrockets. Perfect example, 28 days later. Here you have this normal society, everything's quiet, and with the flip of a switch, you have this virus, this infection that just engulfs everything in its path.
Well, it doesn't sound that bad to me either. It didn't sound that bad to me until I heard of Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. It's a variant of mad cow that would infest a human. There would be muscle spasming, twitching, biting of one's own flesh, and feasting upon human organs. The evolution of the mad cow and a string of the virus that would infect humans, it would just lead to the total downfall of civilization as we know it. It would spread rapidly. It would be airborne. It would also be found in our food. Just relatives shaking hands could cause transmission of this disease. In a few years, you'll notice the nanobot technology where microscopic computers basically can infest a human. It can take over their thoughts and all muscle function. Basically, you would be able to be controlled by these parasitic devices. The technology has already been developed. It's already been tested. I personally was involved in several experiments through the use of nanotechnology, and the results were terrifying. Complete reprogramming of the brain. You've reprogrammed a computer before. You've asked a computer to do certain things. Think of the brain of the human brain as an ultimate supercomputer. The nanobots can reprogram this ultimate supercomputer and use it for whatever use it wants. We're talking about complete destruction of human race as we know it.
So what are any last words you want to say to people who would listen, would actually listen?
I'd have to say, if you know of a really good handy shop with, let's say, knives, guns, I would have to say you get there as quick as you possibly can, you make connections, you make friends, you make sure they like you, and you just pray to God that you don't end up dead. Snack witch.
Pray. Just pray. Science won't save you.
There's no escaping from the virus. All you can do is fight, and at some point you're gonna lose. And that's the ultimate design.
History is full of stories of demons and other unworldly creatures coming into our world and wreaking havoc on society. But what does science have to say about zombies? Are these ferocious freaks plausible or scientifically accurate in any way? Should we be preparing for a zombie apocalypse? Well, it depends on what type of zombie we're talking about. Dying and coming back from the dead? Not so likely. But a virus that induces zombie-like qualities of rage and the incessant need to eat human flesh? Hypothetically, yes. The main factor involved is finding a virus specific to the brain areas for these symptoms while leaving other areas intact. Viruses can enter the body and affect cells in many ways, but we're going to focus on the neurons. Neurons are some of the longest cells and can transport molecules and proteins across the entire body. Many viruses, such as rabies, take advantage of something called retrograde axonal transport to travel from their entry point to where they want to be. In the case of rabies, the virus can enter anywhere and slowly make its way to your brain or central nervous system. The farther it starts physically from your brain, the longer it will take to get there, sometimes years. But once it's there, it's generally too late. Many viruses follow a similar system, with the only difference being which neurons they're specific to. This zombie virus would have to use specific neurons to affect particular parts of the brain to induce a zombie state without damaging the entire brain. Sound unlikely? Well, it just so happens that the olfactory nerve, which is in your nose and used for scent, leads directly to some areas of the brain that could cause zombified effects and would leave other areas of the brain intact. Specifically, it leads to the ventromedial hypothalamus, which tells you you're full, the amygdala, which controls emotion and memory, and the frontal cortex, responsible for problem solving, morality, and inhibiting impulsive action. Essentially, transmission of a virus through the olfactory nerve could create super hungry, aggressive, brain-dead beings that can't recognize family and friends or control their own actions other than to feed. Sounds kind of like a zombie. So while the picture of a rotting or invincible zombie may be less than likely, with the right virus nerve specificity, a form of zombies could be possible. Will you be ready? Got a burning question you want answered? Ask it in the comments or on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe for more weekly science videos.